So today we learned about slope. First of all, what is the formula of the slope of a non-vertical and non-horizontal line? Well, in the equation y equals mx plus b, m is slope. So how do we calculate the slope of a line? M equals the change in y, y2 minus y1, over the change in x, x2 minus x1. This is also sometimes written as y equals the rise over the run, y equals the change in y over the change in x, and a bunch of other different things. But basically, all you really need to know about slope is that it is the steepness of a line, okay? So maybe you don't know what this word means, but basically, if you're climbing up a mountain, if the mountain is really steep, it's going to be really hard to climb up it, right? If the mountain is like this and not even really a mountain at all, easy, piece of cake. Well, how do we measure this kind of thing? You know, how steep something is. Is it this steep? Is it this steep? Is it horizontal? Is it vertical? Slope measures this, okay? So now you know how to calculate the distance of a line. Now you can calculate the steepness of a line. So you're learning all these cool new things about how to think about lines. So, okay, so you just saw a bunch of different levels of steepness of certain lines. What does it look like when a line is completely horizontal? Well, it's the same formula that you would use for a diagonal line. It's just going to look a little different once you plug the coordinates in. Okay, so slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's say that the points on this line are 4 over 4 and 2, okay? And then we see the point of this line is -3, 2. Okay, so these are our 2 points, and this is a horizontal line. So let's plug these points into the formula. So I always like to rewrite my coordinates and then give them a name. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. And I'm going to plug them into the slope formula, and I'm going to get slope equals y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is 2, over x2, which is 4, minus -3, which turns it into a plus. And I'm going to get 0 over 7. Well, 0 divided by anything equals 0. So the slope of a horizontal line is always going to be 0. How come? Well, there is a change in x values, right? Because you're going all the way from the left to the right. There's a big change here. But the line doesn't change its y value at all. See, it's not going up or down or anything like that. It's just staying the same. It's always 2. So there is no change in y. So how can you measure a change in y if there is no change in y? It's going to be 0. All right, let's look at the slope of a vertical line now. Okay, we have our axes. We're going to write our formula. Step 1, always y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, now let's make a vertical line. Let's see. It's going to be 2, 5. Then we have 2, -3. Okay, here's my vertical line. So remember, before we plug our coordinates into the equation, we always want to rewrite them over here, organize our brains. And we have x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so we're plugging them into the equation now. Slope equals y2 is 5 minus y1 is negative 3, so it's going to be a plus, over x2, which is 2 minus 2, and we're going to get 8 over 0. So before, we can divide 0 by a number, and we'll get 0. But you can't divide a number by 0, so it's undefined. You can never divide a number by 0, okay? So when you look at the change in y over the change in x of a vertical line, there is a change in y, right? We go all the way from down here, negative 3, all the way up to 5. So there's a big change in y. We go all these units. But there's no change in x. The line does not move to the left or the right at all. There is no change from being this way, this way, this way. There's just no change. So we have a change in y, but we have no change in x. Therefore, this line is undefined. A vertical line is undefined. So remember the example we used of you hiking up a cliff? What if a cliff is so steep, you can't climb up that. It's completely undefined how you're supposed to get up that mountain, right? You can't climb a cliff. So this is how you're going to remember that undefined lines have a slope where there's a number on the top and a 0 on the bottom, because you can't divide by 0. Here's a trick we learned in class to learn all the different kinds of slope, okay? So we have this guy, right? And his name is Mr. Slope Guy. He has a positive eyeball. Positive lines are increasing, so his eyebrow is going to be going up over his positive eye. He has a negative eyeball. His eyebrow is going to be going down over his negative eye, because the lines are decreasing. Then he has his nose right here. His nose is a vertical line. What do we know about vertical lines? The slope is undefined, so the bottom of his nose is a U. His mouth is flat, which has a slope of 0. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. And now you have Mr. Slope Guy. I'm telling you, on the MCAS, you should maybe just draw him on the top of your page, so you always remember. Okay, so let's do an example. So we're given the following figure. It is a line that goes through the points negative 1, 2. I'm going to rewrite them over here. Negative 1, 2, and negative 2, negative 3. Oh, I'm sorry, negative 3, negative 2. Hold on, this should be different. Sorry about that. All right, so this should be negative 3, negative 2, negative 3, negative 2. And then we have negative 1, 2. So here's our line. I'm going to rewrite my points over here. I'm going to write my formula, always. I'm going to name my points. I'm going to plug them into the formula, okay? So I have slope equals negative 2 minus 2 over negative 3 minus negative 1. And I get negative 4 as my denominator. Negative 4 is my numerator. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a positive. So we're going to get negative 2 as the denominator. And negative 4 divided by negative 2 gives me a positive 2. So we see that our slope equals 2. We can also do this by taking a look at the picture. So I count down 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. So that's negative 4. That's my change in y. And then I count over 2 boxes, and that's over to the left, so it's negative 2. And I get the same answer, and that's just by looking at the picture. But I would recommend using the formula way.